Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Back at the Ranch. I am your host, Danny Knaub, and with me is our latest deserted explorer, Jared. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm so good. Thanks for having me, Danny.
Jared, I'm so excited to talk to you because honestly, as a mod, as a spectator, I love this game, but for whatever reason, I was never in a lot of your rooms. So I'm just so curious to hear your thoughts and kind of everything. But let's go to the beginning. So obviously, you're a huge Survivor fan. Coming into this, we surprise you with like the Janet, the Ethan, they're choosing parties. What was that like, and what was it like when Janet chose you?
So I was really excited. Obviously, it was a shock. We weren't sure who was going to be there. But what I was really proud of was Janet chose me, but Ethan also wanted to select me. So she had initially chose Gabe, but it wasn't her turn yet. And then she actually chose me instead. And Ethan had mentioned that he wanted me. We have similar hair. I thought there was a connection there. But so I felt good that both of them wanted me, and I was really happy with the tribe I was placed on.
I was gonna say, I mean, because obviously you don't have any time to get to know anybody. You're essentially thrown into that first challenge. But just sort of looking at both parties, were you feeling like you were on the good one, or were you feeling it was pretty stacked, both of them? Like, what were your overall thoughts?
It was hard to tell initially, but from that first day, I was clicking with almost everyone on my tribe, or my party rather. And so I felt really good because I immediately saw that I would have multiple roads depending on where I wanted to go.
Nice. Um, that just says so much about you. I mean, honestly, like just watching you, you were a joy, you were fun, like you were always bubbly, very happy. So I feel like people naturally gravitated towards you, and I think that's why you lasted so long. So just talk to me a little bit about your overall strategy. So is this your first game you've played?
Yes.
Okay.
This
So
is
what
my
was your strategy? That's good.
as a super big Survivor fan, I have thought about strategy a lot. And frankly, coming into this, I didn't realize it was going to be so similar to the show. I feel like this is as close as you can get without actually going out to the island. So for me, I've seen that the most successful people who get to the end have a tight alliance. So my immediate strategy was I needed a 1 and 2 and a final 3 deal. And my two people through the whole game were Daniel and Maddie. We had a final 3 deal from the beginning, and it stuck the whole time.
Um, what was it about them? I'm just curious, like, because I get this. I played a similar game as you. I feel like actually, so I get it. But like, is there a way to explain to people like sometimes you just gel with people, you know?
Yeah, I think for Maddie, I mean, I've always gotten along really well with women and just the things she was saying. And I also watched people's reactions when I would say things. So certain people in my tribe, for example, Kyle's great and I adore him, but he's not very expressive. So I would say things and it was very difficult to read how he was feeling about them. With Maddie, I could look at her screen and know that she was agreeing with what I was saying or enjoying it or laughing. Um, and Daniel, it's hard to articulate. I just could tell. I was like, we are just gonna vibe. I love that he's like a sex therapist and he's very open. And he seems like, as a therapist, someone who's not judgmental. And yeah, I just got great vibes from him.
I totally get it. So obviously, those first few days, you're a part of a winning party. You guys win both back-to-back challenges. Going into that third one, Dakota is obviously voted out, and it's essentially I think everybody but Dakota voted for Dakota. But I feel like you're a big part of this because there was this whole like DM thing. Like, explain to us what was happening.
So, and I don't know how to use Discord, right? So I'm so new to the app. And actually, shout out to Kyle because he showed me how to do so much of it. But after I did my confessional for day 2, right after we wrapped, I all of a sudden saw this message, and all it said was hi. But I remember you guys were very clear from the beginning that you are not allowed to direct message a player. So I actually sat there and thought about it for a while, and I was like, well, maybe I could just ignore this. But then I thought, if I don't say something and this comes out later and I get eliminated or a penalty, it just wasn't worth it. And it was too early. I was just like, I'm just going to do the right thing and tell Ahmad. So that's what I did. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So then the next day when we logged on, so also part of the story was Jennifer missed the first day due to technical issues. So we got on, and it was me, Daniel, Maddie, Kyle, and Justin. And I knew I wanted to work with all those people. So I immediately told them what was happening. But I said, please don't say anything. So then Jennifer and Dakota come in, and Dakota eventually comes later. And it was this weird thing where everybody knew what was going on, but it wasn't discussed. Like she obviously knew because she had had conversations with you guys, and everyone on my tribe knew. Actually, Jennifer was the only one who didn't know. So it was this weird, like tiptoeing around it. And then once we lost, I thought she was going to get penalty votes. So my rationale there was if she's already going to get 3 votes, let's just make it easy. So I did kind of corral the group to get rid of her because I also was feeling guilty. I was like, I don't want to be part of this drama. Like, we just started the game. I don't want to worry about it.
Yeah.
What started the interesting me and Justin relationship that we had all season was that he immediately went and told her what was going on and then came back and told me. So that was a wrench in the plan. I had to talk to her. And in retrospect, I wish things had happened a little differently because I think I could have really worked with Dakota, but it was just, as you know, in this game, one mistake can end you. And for her, unfortunately, it was a mistake that just it got me involved and she had to go.
No, totally. I mean, like that's why I love these conversations because having talked to a few people, like Dakota told me straight up, she's like, I messaged him hi, I didn't know what I was doing. Hearing from you, she messaged you hi. Did you have to tell the whole party this happened? I don't know. That leads to things, but it's interesting because that really did sort of set her demise in a way. So but again, it's a game. Like, I mean, so kudos to you. I don't know if you like intentionally did that or what, but like,
For a few reasons. The first
yeah,
being, I need to survive this game. Any target that's not on me progresses me farther in the game. A.
totally.
B is an opportunity to gain trust with my tribe. And especially, it was perfect for the me, Daniel, and Maddie relationship because even after that, Maddie had said, like, oh, after that, I know I can trust you. So it made me seem like a trustworthy team player. I felt really guilty about it, but it set me up really well for the original Team Janet.
Yeah. No, I was just curious if you knew what you were doing, which it sounds like you did, which again, that's part of the game. So kudos to you. So now we go into our swap, which doesn't look good for you. So the swap happens. There are 3 original Team Janet versus 4 original Team Ethan. You're obviously one of the original Team Janet. Um, the swap happens. What do you think?
That I'm screwed. That's my initial thought. I was also devastated because I was stuck with the 2 people I had the least amount of connection with from Team Janet in Jennifer and Justin. And I knew that they had a closer connection. So on top of being in the minority in general, I just felt like the complete bottom of the barrel. So I was very nervous.
Yeah, and so obviously we surprised you that we're going to do a double crossroads. So everybody's going. I believe you were the first team to go, so you lost that challenge. So you don't even get the luxury of watching the other tribal or the other crossroads like the other team does. Um, Jennifer's the one to go. Do you help guide it towards Jennifer, or is this a very much anybody but me vote? I'm going with the flow.
So this was kind of the start of what had some repercussions later in the game, where a lot of people that I was on the swap tribe with from original Ethan were icing me out. And so I was incredibly nervous. Justin had one individual exemption and said he was going to try to work on flipping one of them to vote out Gabe. So Jennifer and I were on board, but Justin, because he had exemption, I feel that he over strategized because he knew he was safe. So he was going all over the place, talking to people. And then the one person who initially did include me, and we also had an interesting relationship, was Chantel. So she came, had conversations with me, and her and I, and we both admit it, and even like, we've talked, like we had this vibe. Like I always wanted to work with her. She wanted to work with me. That was one of those unspoken, we just could feel it. And so she said, I think we should get rid of Jennifer. And so I was on board because anyone but me. And now Justin has exemption. There's only 2 options, right? So I was willing to throw her under the bus because to me, she was never a number and I need to survive. Gabe also pulled me aside right before tribal and confirmed we are voting for Jennifer, not you. So I voted with them and she was eliminated. And Justin, I mean, if you saw that crossroads, he was lobbying hard, but the way he went, I don't think he played it the right way. I think he overplayed in that moment.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I mean, it was interesting because and I brought it up to Jennifer for sure. I brought it up to Hannah as well, where I said like it was an interesting crossroads because it was only 4-3. So really that three just needed one of you guys, anyone to really flip on you to bring you guys into the majority. And it felt like no one was trying that. I don't know if that was I don't know. I was just curious if that was a decision or if that was a thought that came to you. Like, ooh, maybe if we flip somebody, or were you very much just like, just off of me? Anybody but me.
The whole time I was considering writing Jennifer's name down anyway, because I like to think I have a good read of people. None of those four were turning on each other. I could tell. And Justin was trying and I admired it, but I was also iced out. So I had no control. And then, so when I was offered Jennifer on a silver platter, I took it.
Interesting. Well, yeah, no, I love that because also I feel like I'm not trying to skip ahead, but I feel like where the demise of this sort of like foursome that helped get you out, which I don't know if you watched last night's Crossroads, but like there's no gelling. It's like odd people who are like, oh, we're like this new four, and there's no one really leading it. So I love that what you're saying. So okay, so let's talk about the crazy Crossroads. So this is the one I'm talking about from like last Tuesday. It was insane. Um, I loved it because I was a mod on this one, and I was there when Daniel literally found the advantage, which was the shortcut that he is going to give to you. So I watched it. I want to say if Crossroads was, anyone watching at home, if Crossroads at like 10 o'clock, this was at like 9:56. I mean, it was something like he jumped into you. He's like, I got this, use it. Because I think you were going. Like, what were you just thinking up until the 4 minutes before when he finally gives you this? That's
that whole, so I have to actually go back a little bit because that was one of the craziest days in this game for me. So before the swap, our tribe, the Janet party was very aligned. And so we anticipated a swap. And so before that challenge, we said, if we're swapping, that was before, whoever, so for the double one, we said we were going to try to throw the challenge, but then we both had to go. So by this next one, I wasn't sure what was going to happen anymore. Like we had both voted people out. I haven't been with them for a few days now, and now we get to have a joint strategy session. And it was so great to reconnect with everyone because it confirmed that I had done good work in those first couple of days to have those bonds. And Daniel coming to me secured it for me. I was like, he is one of my people. And for him to give me an advantage, of course I was going to jump on it. And it solidified what I knew, which was that those were my people. I will also say that I was the one who threw Hannah's name out there because I could just feel that she did not have a compass. And I knew that of that group, they wouldn't play it for her. And they actually wanted to vote for Chantel, but because Chantel had helped save me, I said, no, I don't want her eliminated because I wanted to keep that pathway open. Yeah. Hannah did not strategize with me at all. At one point, her and I were alone in the shelter and she just wouldn't, I tried a little bit and she just gave me nothing. So I didn't mind cutting her because she didn't give me a pathway. People like Chantel and Gabe gave me options, so I wanted to keep them. And I had no idea they were going to play that compass for Justin. That was a huge surprise. I was just happy to be safe because I missed the rest of Crossroads because I had safety without power.
No, that was absolutely crazy. Okay, so then we're heading into the rendezvous. So obviously you at this point have done a really great job of avoiding you. I felt like watching you were sitting pretty. So you get to the rendezvous. What are you thinking? Because it feels like you have numbers. Like you should be okay, right? So is that what you were thinking?
Yes, but you know, anytime there's a swap, there's always going to be new relationships. So I was thrilled to be back with my original people, and I still plan on working with them. But I also had these relationships with Gabe and Chantel. They had been with Ryan for a while, and people had expressed interest in him. So it was kind of navigating these new relationships, but also reaffirming what I knew, which was that I had my three. So when it came time to pick a target, it was a very similar conversation of who's the least likely to have a compass because it was only 6 to 5. So we needed to secure that majority. And it pained me so much because I wanted to keep him longer, but I knew Gabe did not have the compass. I just knew it. And so it was an easy target for him. I knew they wouldn't expect it. And that worked. So we were able to
No, that it totally makes sense. So just looking at my notes though, I'm curious because it feels like just Justin. I want to talk about Justin for a second because Justin's still in the game. Justin's someone I feel like hasn't quite, has he chosen a side? Were you really set that you felt like he was with you all? Like he feels just sort of his own person. Is that what you kind of got with him?
Yes, and Justin and I have an interesting story because I played the whole game with him, and I feel like I really underestimated him because it always kind of seemed like he wasn't really sure what was going on. So I always tried to make an effort to loop him in so that he would trust me.
Hmm.
So I was kind of pulling him aside and saying, "This is what we're doing. Like, just do it." And I got cocky and was like, "Oh, he'll just do what I say." And for several votes, he was. So that's kind of what happened. I wasn't, and I think what ultimately bit me in the end was I underestimated him and just thought he would do what I say because he was, and that's how a lot of the game had gone. Um,
Yeah, I mean, especially watching last night, it feels like people, or the night before, people were sort of underestimating him. So maybe that was his game this whole time, for sure. Um, so we go into the superlative challenge. Now they did it very differently this year in that everybody voted for the superlative. So some people like were listed on a bunch. I only paid attention if you made it first or second in it. So I'm very curious, Jared, are you fake and are you also genuine?
so this was, and I knew that that challenge was going to be hard for people. I
Yeah.
knew it. What's also interesting is because I had relationships with people in the game, whether I was voting with them or not, I knew exactly who voted for me for fake, and I knew exactly who voted because I also had a vote for trustworthy. So
Yeah.
it was like trustworthy, genuine, and then 3 for fake. I know Chantel was annoyed with me, so she voted for me for fake. I'm pretty sure maybe Gideon did, and then I know Garrett did as well. So it was the Minority Alliance calling me fake, and I'm pretty sure it was Danielle and Maddie saying I was trustworthy and genuine. So, you do feel it a little bit, but it's,
Yeah. But like, why were you, it was the most baffling it's like, how are you
Mhm.
fake and genuine? It's like, it was such a weird thing, but like, do you see where they could see you as fake? And if
So,
so, what is that? What is that?
so the problem is, especially for Chantel, I do think it makes sense because her thing was she never felt that my plans I was offering her were real. The
Hmm.
problem is they were real at the time. So at the merge vote and at the double swap tribals, like I was trying to make deals with her, but then the problem was I would get new information. So at the vote when Hannah was eliminated and I had safety without power and left, or the shortcut advantage, I didn't know I was getting that. So I was trying to cut a deal with her and say, let's vote Justin. But then she was like really surprised. But at the time, I didn't have all the information. So it wasn't that I was lying in these situations. It was that things would happen. And then as I get new information, I have to pivot my plan. So to her, it came off that I was like stringing her along and purposefully feeding her fake plans, which was not the case. So I understood that. And I feel like Garrett just went along with that because he knew she was saying I was fake. And then I'm not sure who the third person was. Maybe Gideon, just because we didn't get to talk strategy very often together.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, that's part of this game. I mean, people, I don't know. It's part of what makes this game challenging in a way because you are playing by the minute and you have a very limited amount of time. So something I tell you at 8:15 by 8:45,
Totally
that's not the
different.
same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, wait, that was a plan. That plan was, oh, that was like 7 plans ago. So it's interesting, what happens in this game. So now I've been privy to watching the last few crossroads. Obviously, I'm not going to say it out loud in case people are watching this in real time. But the next vote is the flip vote. This is a big vote for everybody. This is a vote where one side joins another side. You all come together and you vote out your common enemy, Kyle. Um, Now that you are here with me, was that the smartest decision your side could have made?
No,
No. And explain why, maybe why not.
because that was that was an appeasement vote. Maddie was dead set on getting rid of Kyle. And actually for the when Garrett was eliminated, she was pushing hard. He was just starting to rub her the wrong way. They had played the whole game together. So by the time I got back with Kyle, I was happy to see him. Her and him just never really vibed, but he wanted to have a final three with me, her, and him. So we told him them yes. So Maddie and I had a couple different deals like that going, and you just at the time you say yes, but I felt that Kyle was going to be so threatening. He had found compasses. He was very observant. Like Kyle would be telling me things that he saw and I'm like, oh, I didn't even see that. And so he was identified as a threat very early on, and it got to a point where we got enough people on board, and it was also a way to kind of gain that trust back with Chantel. I really wanted to try to have a relationship with her. Maddie also was incredibly tight with her. So it just seemed like something we could get everyone on board for. And it's rare in this game to get easy votes. And it was an easy vote. But I don't think it was the right move for my game because I don't think Kyle would have turned on me anytime soon. And then the next thing you know, I'm gone next. So in retrospect, not so great for my game.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, watching it, I get it. I mean, I totally get his character. We obviously had a conversation a few nights ago. I mean, I totally get it. But yeah, it's interesting because once a core group starts to fracture, then it just,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it really can be a kumbaya vote. It can be a really like, yes, let's vote him out. And then it's like, okay, now we're all back in. But like that one just seems to really have this lasting effect now. Um, so again, obviously then we lead into your final night, where okay, so before we get to Crossroads, I'm trying to let everybody know at home, remember, like, you have an hour. It's not a lot of time. You do not have a lot of time. Gideon has immunity. So what does your hour between immunity challenge and Crossroads look like? Where do you think the vote's going? How are you feeling? Just take me to that hour.
So yeah, after the Kyle vote, I was feeling pretty good, but it had been very clear for a while also that Ryan was a target. So I felt very adamant that Ryan had to go. And there were discussions about if he had a compass or not. It was hard to tell. And Ryan was the person I had spent the least amount of time in the game with. So I didn't know him as well. He was very good at the exemption challenges, and he was starting to get people to like him. So I just felt like he was going to be a huge threat to my game. I didn't feel like I wanted to go anywhere deep in the game with him. And I think I overdid it because speaking to that relationship with Justin, which is part of my story, is I pitted Justin and Ryan against each other, and foolishly didn't think that they would connect and put the pieces together, which is how I know now I'm pretty sure how I got eliminated because I was telling Ryan, Chantel, and Gideon that we were going to go for Justin, and telling Ryan that telling them that I was voting for Justin, and telling Justin that we were voting for Ryan, and basically like making up lies. I was telling them things that the other one had said about each other. I kind of just did too much because I had reached a point where I felt very comfortable, and I'm kicking myself because it's the one thing I said I wasn't going to do was to get super comfortable, and that's exactly what happened. And I noticed that I spent a lot of time on my own, which should have worried me, but I was like, well, Daniel and Maddie will tell me if my name comes up. Like I was that comfortable. And now looking back, it's like, duh, you should have been checking in on people a little more. And I should have just played it differently. I should have been a little more relaxed about it. I think I took it to the unnecessary step of pitting those two against each other. So what I think happened is once they connected the dots, they thought, well, let's just get out Jared because he's causing all this drama.
Yeah. So looking at the vote, it was a 4-3-1. So 4 votes came your way. So explain to me, because this whole time I feel like you've had a 4. So
Yeah.
why were there not 4 votes going towards the opposition?
Because I thought we were going to vote for Ryan, and I knew we had this weird. This is where the timing issue comes in. Then there was this weird vote split plan because we thought, okay, Ryan might have a compass, so I thought some people were going to vote. So I thought it would be like a 3-3-2. kind of, honestly, I kind of lost track of where the votes were going. And then at the last minute, I remember sitting at Crossroads and thinking, I know Maddie's voting for Justin. I should just vote for Justin. But I'm like, no, I'm going to stick to the plan because all the other plans have worked so far. Like, really, every time we had a plan, it had worked. And again, that was me getting so comfortable that, of course, the plan's going to work. But as soon as that first vote came out, I knew I was getting blindsided. I knew it.
Again, it was interesting because I was just not a part of any conversations that I heard were coming your way. So when I started seeing votes for you, I was like, what did like? I'm here. Like, I don't understand what I missed. Like, I'm literally here watching it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting because obviously I feel like what I was watching was that the other side was sort of like, I think they realized that this was we have to throw all of our, everything in the fire to really go for it. And it felt like they were willing to go to rocks. So even if it was a sort of tie, I think they were like dead set. I don't think any of us would know what actually would have happened if that was the case because it's different. But yeah, I mean, does it burn a little bit that it was a 4-3-1? That if you did just vote the same way, like it may have been different? Like, I don't know. What are you thinking? I'm
Well, I spent the whole
crazy.
night after that not sleeping thinking about that. So yes, I was up all night thinking about it. But I mean, if you see my reaction in the moment, I was laughing because I loved it. I was sad and I still am sad to go out, but I took it as a compliment. I feel that I was a threat, and that's also why I'm kicking myself. I feel like if I had stayed in this game, I really had a chance to win. And it was also like what a great way to go out, and I had so much fun, and I love all those people in the game. So yeah, it's sad, but I'm proud of my genuine reaction in the moment, which was not to be a sore loser. I think like I don't know, I took it in stride, and it was a great move, and it was the right, I think, for someone like a Justin. I think it was a great move for his game, and it made me see his game differently. And now with me on the jury, whereas I'm, maybe would have never voted for him, it's kind of making me think maybe I would now. So I also think it opened the game up a lot. It's given people some other options, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love your game. I mean, honestly, I love this season so far because I feel like why I've been in this community long enough that I've seen a lot of people that exit that are very bitter or very angry, very this. And I feel like everybody thus far, knock on wood, has exited and been like, good game move. I get it. And is sort of understanding that this is a game and the game is complicated and there's luck and there's strategy and there's skill. It's a combination that is really difficult to manage and very difficult to get to the end. And I always say, and I mean it, the fact that you made it as far as you did is humongous. And you were on the wrong side for a while and you still managed to get as far as you did. So I think that's a testament to you. I think you are so likable. I think that people gravitate to you. Like, and that's how I play. Like, I feel like people like, I don't know, like watching you and talking to you, I'm like, oh, I get you. Like, I feel you. I feel like you and I are pretty similar in many, many ways. Um, anyway, I feel like I could talk to you like for hours. And so I'm trying to wrap it up. Anyway, so you're out. I hate it. Do you have a regret? Is there a regret that you have?
Yeah, I think so. Like the biggest regret I think is that I mismanaged my relationship with Justin.
Hmm.
I felt that I had him so pegged, and I also got too comfortable. I think there's a couple reasons I think I'm not bitter. I think it was my own fault I was eliminated. I take the complete blame for that. I think if I had made a few different decisions, it could have gone a different way. And it also just makes me feel good that my alliance didn't flip on me, because that's also an initial thought. Like once I got out of the game, my first thought was, okay, did Daniel and Maddie flip on me? So I did look at their faces. Maddie's very expressive. So Maddie, I could see, was completely shocked. Daniel has a very good poker face. So I was wondering, did he flip on me? But I don't think he did. And so that also makes me feel better to know that I did choose the right people and that I only have myself to blame. And in a weird way, that makes me feel a little more at peace with this.
No, I totally get that. I'm not here to spoil anything. I feel like you should find things out as they naturally come out.
Yeah.
Um, but I think you're pretty. I think you know what you're thinking. I think you're good. Um, so of those remaining, who are you rooting for?
Daniel and Maddie, hands down. They were my people the whole game.
I made you choose one.
Yeah, if I have to choose one, it's probably Maddie. Just like I her and I are going to be very good friends after this.
Good.
It's so weird because I've never met her in person, but some like her energy is amazing. And in a lot of ways, I don't want to like blame her as well, but I also think some of my game mistakes were because I was trying to please her.
Mm.
So I got started to get very concerned about Chantel, but Maddie was insistent on not voting her out. So I did it. Maddie was insistent about getting Kyle out, so we did. So she actually has a lot more sway than I think people in the game and on the jury understand. So now I'm starting to have those conversations and explain, like, oh yeah, the reason, like, the reason Kyle went is because Maddie wanted him gone. And actually, at the Garrett vote, Daniel and I had to convince her not to go for him yet. And same thing with Chantel. Daniel and I had concerns about Chantel, but Maddie wanted to keep her. So Maddie has but she does it in a way that even when she's upset and is like, I really want this, you can talk to her and you can have a conversation and it's a compromise. She's a great alliance member, but she's also incredibly talented at subtly over time persuading you to do what's actually better for her game. So if she can articulate that at the end of the game, I think she has a very good shot to win.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, obviously, you were just voted out. We don't know what happens next, even though we know what happens next. Um, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a very crazy last week for sure. I mean, everyone's flipping, everyone's figuring out their way, and I can't sit here now and tell you who I think is gonna win. I know who I'm rooting for. I'm gonna keep it to myself, but like I don't know. I mean, I think everybody has a case at this point, and I think it's really, and I don't, besides Daniel, Maddie, and Rob, I don't know where any of the other relationships are. Like, I don't get it. I don't, I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm curious to see if they can all figure it out and turn it on the others. So, Jared, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Is there anything that we haven't talked about, or anything you want to say? Anything? Any final words?
No, I guess I would just give people advice to just be really open. Um, because even when I was on those other tribes, like being open to those other relationships is what saved me. Like I should have been out of the swamp, realistically. And even later, now I've gotten a chance to talk to Garrett and just hearing him say, like, oh, we totally should have voted you out. In retrospect, like you were playing a good game we didn't even realize. And then him and I didn't really connect and finally have a strategy conversation. I didn't feel like I really had a conversation with him until the day he went home and it was too late. So, and we've talked about that too. So I guess my biggest advice is, be loyal and get your alliance in order, but also be open to opportunities because even with Chantel, there's times where she saved me and then times where I've saved her. So it's like even if you're not working with someone, taking a little bit of time to make that genuine connection can save you in this game when you least expect it. So that's just my biggest advice is just be really open-minded with your relationships.
I think that's legit. I mean, I think that's some, I mean, honestly, I think that's solid advice for sure. I mean, I feel like, when you're on the other side of things, watching people play and just in life in general, it's easy to say like, hey, like, why aren't you listening to people? So I totally get it. Final question. If you were asked again, would you play this game?
100, like tomorrow, like when the question would be when, not yesterday.
Are you free on Friday? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, Jared, again, thank you so much. Obviously, you're part of the jury that gets to vote for our winner. I think this is a very solid. I think we're at 7 players now. I'm trying to remember, like, as I'm like planning these, I'm like, looking it out. I'm like,
7 people left in the game.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know, Jared, I really enjoyed you. I enjoyed watching you play. I think you seem like such a fun guy. We do have a fun side this whole universe, Survivor Expedition. There's a great group of people who just, I've connected with, and I look forward to getting to know you on the outside. And again, I don't envy you. You have a tough decision to make with the final remaining people, and it's going to be a crazy week, but thank you for your insight, and I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me.
Well, thank you, and thank you to all of the mods. This I've never done anything like this. I had no idea what I was getting into. My friend was like, "Apply for this and do it." This is incredible. You guys have such a well-oiled machine. Like everything runs smoothly. I thought everything was pretty fair. Like it was just I really don't have any complaints. Like this game threw me for a loop, but it was truly the most fun I've had in quarantine. And I just thank you guys for getting the chance to be part of this. I feel so grateful.
Well, we appreciate that. I think most of us who are mods have played this game before. And so I think we understand, like, we want to replicate our experience for you all. So to hear that means the world. So thank you so much. Everybody at home, thank you so much for watching. I don't know who's next. Let's see who I'm talking to tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.